Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, on this wonderful Wednesday for another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. I'm wishing you all a wonderful week, and this one indeed is going to be a jam-packed one. We're going to be looking at what is currently taking place across the board with markets and the cryptocurrency space internally. So we did a video last night where we looked at some of Gary Gensler's comments in regards to his CNBC appearance when he was asked, is Ethereum a security and are we going to get an Ethereum ETF? We will be taking another look at them. We also played Tom Emery's response, who is a congressman for Minnesota, essentially calling out Gary Gensler's insane behavior when it relates to the cryptocurrency space and quite frankly, unfair behavior. We now have another congressman who essentially has came forward, Rep. Wiley Nickel, who essentially we're going to be playing a clip of after we've played Gary Gensler's response to is Ethereum a security and are we going to have an ETH ETF? Because it's becoming very apparent, certainly to Congress, that the SEC is carrying out gross misconduct when it comes to the cryptocurrency space. And he talks specifically about the Robinhood case. So very interesting. But where we're going to be starting the video off is with a bit of a legend, and that is Stan Druckenmiller. Stan Druckenmiller, like him or not, you can't deny his record, and I think he's somebody who I really look up to. I think he has an unbelievable track record when it comes to the investing space. You know, he's delivered insane returns. I don't think he had a losing streak for 30-something years, which is insane. And the average returns that he provided to investors were far elevated than the kind of average. Now, he recently did another appearance on, I think it was CNBC, where he actually spoke about the government spending, Bidenomics, and the kind of insanity of it all. And the really interesting for me as a cryptocurrency investor is he actually mentioned blockchain as a real kind of innovative technology. So even Stan Druckenmiller is kind of shouting out blockchain along with, of course, AI. He was a big NVIDIA guy. And of course, AI and blockchain are very much married, I think. You kind of need one to police the other. And we've looked at that in yesterday's Hedera video. Then we're going to be talking about how Grayscale have withdrawn their ETF filing for Ethereum. Now, people are misconstruing this in regards to the fact they think they've withdrawn their ETF. Ethereum spot ETF is their Ethereum futures ETF. And this really was just a bit of a Trojan horse to see if they could get it through the door. That would give them wider credence to be able to get a spot ETF in. We'll then look at a little bit of news in regards to a $438 billion asset manager that now holds Bitcoin. Willy Woo showing some interesting on-chain data. And then we'll finish things off with a little bit of technical. So we have, as I mentioned at the start, hell of a lot to get into. Let's start the video off with the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. Stan Druckenmiller. Let's dive into it.
Bidenomics.
Bidenomics. If I was a professor, I'd give him an F and thought we were going into a depression. The Fed did too. I worried about it too in early days. The Fed eventually pivoted, better late than never. Treasury is still acting like we're in a depression. It's interesting because I've studied the Great Depression, and you had a private sector crippled with debt with basically no new ideas. So interventionist policies were called for and were effective. The private sector could not be more different today than it was in the Great Depression. Their balance sheets are fine, they're healthy, and have you ever seen more innovative ideas that the private sector could take advantage of now? You've got blockchain, you've got AI, you've got the whole thing. All government needed to do was get out of their way and let them innovate. Instead, they've spent and spent and spent. And my new fear now is that spending and the resulting interest rates on the debt that's been created are going to crowd out some of the innovation that otherwise would have taken place. We've got a 7% budget deficit at full employment. It's unheard of.
So I don't want to play that whole clip of Stan Druckenmiller, but of course he highlighted blockchain as a real innovative technology. I think it is undeniable that it's going to change the world. And he talks about this really kind of dumb paradigm of all the innovation that's taking place with the private sector, yet the government is spending like they're in a depression or recession depression kind of period. And that is set to continue and actually amplify. And he talks about the election that's coming. He talks about student debt. You know, this is why we've seen markets do well. And the Fed's actions are largely being null and void by what the likes of Yellen is doing, who is, of course, being mandated by the government. So very interesting, amazing for me to hear Stan Druckenmiller kind of highlight blockchain. Let's dive into a clip of Gary Gensler when asked, is Ethereum a security and are we going to get an Ethereum ETF?
The big question in crypto land right now, is Ethereum a commodity or is Ethereum a security? And therefore, will there one day be an ETF? That's the fundamental question on the table in crypto land. You agree?
Oh, you're the one that's out there asking the questions. All I would say is, to me, the fundamental question is how do we ensure that the American investor is protected? And right now, they're not getting the required or needed disclosures. And the intermediaries in the center of this rather centralized market generally are conflicted and doing things we would never allow the New York Stock Exchange to do. The New York Stock Exchange is not allowed to trade against the investors.
Okay, but let me ask you, there's a lot of folks who bought Ethereum expecting that one day there will be potentially an ETF and that it will be considered a genuine security that's tradable on these exchanges. Will that happen?
Again, that's something in front of our commission right now. We're a 5-member commission, and those filings will take up at the appropriate time.
And he just totally kind of ignores the question and dances around it. You did have Tom Emery come out yesterday, and we actually played a clip of Tom Emery. Do go and watch last night's video on Gary Gensler and the Ethereum ETF. We go into things a little bit more detail, but you actually had another congressman come out. Let's listen to what he had to say, and then we'll continue the video.
We're watching the SEC's regulation by enforcement play out in real time. After offering crypto on their platform for 6 years, Robinhood was just served a Wells notice, meaning that they should expect an SEC enforcement action very soon. Unfortunately, that just seems to be the cost of doing business for a US-based crypto company right now. Robinhood, for example, has publicly stated that it has heeded the chairman's call to come in and register, but to no avail. They've gone out of their way to delist products on their platform just to play it safe. Other countries view this hostile environment as really an opportunity to eat our lunch, and we see US firms packing up their laptops and heading overseas. The United States needs to remain the global financial leader, and we need an SEC willing to protect consumers without discouraging innovation and being overly punitive. Chair Gensler maintains that there's clarity on what is and isn't a security, but it appears that the only way to actually find out is to endure an enforcement action. On Squawk Box this morning, Gensler said that many crypto tokens are securities, but refused to provide any specifics. That certainly is not clarity. We need clear rules of the road for the digital assets industry, and I'm scratching my head about what they really are right now.
I think we are all scratching our heads in regards to what they perhaps are right now. Very interesting. Like I said, this is a jam-packed one. So we've covered Stan Druckenmiller. We've covered, of course, what took place yesterday with Gensler's comments. On the back end of all this, we also have news. So this is from James. SafeArt update. This is interesting. Grayscale just withdrew their 19B4 filing for an Ethereum futures is the key word here, ETF. This was essentially a Trojan horse filing, in my view, in order to create the same circumstances that allowed Grayscale to win the GBTC lawsuit, approve futures, deny spot. The interesting thing with this is they have already approved Ethereum futures, and we've spoken about this. They didn't call an Ethereum futures ETF that the SEC would have approved an SFP, which stands for Security Future Product, which usually they have to do if something is classified as a security. So interesting news. I wouldn't read too much into this. He goes on to say, I don't know why they do this. Honestly, in my mind, might as well make the SEC write up an approval or denial for an Ethereum futures ETF and go from there. Maybe the SEC spoke with Grayscale about this, and whatever was said convinced Grayscale to withdraw this. Very interesting. I don't think this is kind of any kind of a clue in regards to the Ethereum ETF approval. I don't think it's going to come this month, but I do think it will eventually come, and we do believe that technically. Just yesterday, we found out that a $438 billion asset manager disclosed $1.3 billion worth of Bitcoin in an ETF portfolio. This is big news. This is another one. We've seen an absolute cascade of funds actually aping into Bitcoin. Why is this? Well, what are they going to hold in their balance sheet? If I had a choice between the dollar right now and Bitcoin, going back to Stan Druckenmiller's comments right at the start, I would choose Bitcoin. And this is the great bug that we're actually seeing. Yes, it is only 1.3 billion of a $438 billion asset manager, but it's a major step in the right direction. Willy Woo highlighting some really interesting data. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Willy Woo or really on-chain analysts. I don't think they're very predictive, but it is something interesting to keep in mind. So never has there been such a buying spree by high net worth Bitcoin holders as happened in the last 2 months, whilst we've been pulling back subsequently. around all-time highs, with BTC ranging between 60 and 70k. So why are we getting high net worth individuals on chain? We can see them because they hold already a lot of Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin to this degree at this price. There are the guys holding between 100 to 1,000 BTC are roughly 6.5 million to $650 million of Bitcoin. This is a long range view. You can see the kind of jump up actually that you've seen, which is rather interesting here, at a time when Bitcoin is around all-time highs, which we'll look at. What I want to do is still start on total 2. So we're very much in a churny period. We're coming off the back end of inflation fears. I don't think inflation is going to be an issue. That's my assessment, to be honest. Even with all the spending, I think we're going to continue to see inflation at worst go sideways from a CPI, PCE point of view. We're not seeing it spike up like many would have you believe in the second wave really occur. I don't think that's going to be the case. At worst, you're going to see inflation go sideways. At best, you're going to see it continue to come down. That's my forecast, and that's going to take the dollar with it, which is going to see risk do well. We're waiting for the confirmation of that, which is going to come in the form of data that, of course, is going to steer the markets. And all markets really ran into a strong dollar on the back end of an uncertainty with inflation. We're waiting for a kind of what I think is just a bump in what is a broader trend to resolve itself. And that is going to look like the total 2 closing that right shoulder up, in my opinion, taking us to $3.7 trillion. And also Bitcoin continuing on the path it's continuing on. So Willie, we mentioned 2 months, which is interesting. So we have been, this is a weekly, since this pullback began, there's been, he hasn't seen so many high net worth Bitcoin individuals actually buying up Bitcoin to the degree they have. Remember, halvening's taken place. We're at all-time highs. This is likely going to result to the upside. This was always supposed to be an area of congestion, all-time highs, but you will push above it, in my opinion, and ultimately continue a broader trend. And when you cross-analyze all the markets, it's a very clear picture that's painted in regards to the environment that we're in. We are seeing the dollar pop its head up a little bit today. Not sure on the back end of what, but this could very much be topping. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the dollar. But we have that broader time frame view that the dollar's coming down to the lower band of this channel, which is where rates are going to take it. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I am going to love and leave you. It's always a pleasure. I'm wishing you a wonderful Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Don't forget to check out the Patreon, and I'll catch you all in the next. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next.